In this video, we're going to talk about if you have to send your paint down to the metal, if you have to do that or not. We're going to talk about that. That's a good question, asked it a lot, misunderstood. So we're going to kind of focus on that question. So this is Donnie Smith with a live video answering some of the questions you have on YouTube. And you can also ask on here too. If you're just joining us, be sure and let us know that you can hear us fine or hear me fine, because a lot of times I really can't tell from this end. There's some type of audio problem, or, if you can see me fine. So let me know. So anyway, yeah, we've got questions about primer sealer. Can you spray just the spot that you repaired, or do you have to do the whole panel, and some other questions that we're going to get into. So thanks again for joining. And I've got some questions over here. So I'm going to switch off this screen. Can everybody hear me okay? Make sure about that first. Okay, getting some questions over here. I'm going to come back to these questions over here. Go ahead and leave them or say hey. And I'm also going to get back to those in just a little bit. But I'm going to answer some of the questions that I had on my YouTube channel first, and then I will get to some of these. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, I've switched screens. Okay, so I can't see you, but Jacob, my son, is also, he's not in here, but he is online kind of watching the comments on here and stuff. So he'll be joining us as well. So he'll be able to see your comments before I get back to that screen. So I small as what? He left a comment, and I did leave him a little bit of a comment, but not very much, And, it's hard to type all those out. So that's why I have these live videos. But he says, hello, Don. I repaired a hand-size damage on my door. So I sprayed gray primer. The color of the car is dark blue metallic. Is it normal to put 5 to 6 coats of base coat to cover the patch? And after I sprayed the whole door 3 times with base coat and then cleared it, and it came out good. And that is one way you can do it. I mean, especially with your metallics and blues, some of them are really bad about it. There's not a lot of pigment, not a lot of color. And so if you're trying to spray over a primer spot, it is going to take extra paint. And that is normal. I mean, if you're not going to have a ground coat that's closer to the color that's underneath that paint, it's going to take more paint. Now, be sure and let those flash in between coats. You don't want to trap any of those solvents in there. But yeah, you may have to put 5 or 6 coats, because that each coat you're putting on is not covering that well. To prevent having to put as much paint is to use primer sealer. And the primer sealer, it'll tell you, you research it, it'll tell you what, like in our paint system, it tells us, what gray shade that should be underneath. And usually if you use the correct primer sealer that's closer to the color of the car, it's more of the shade, lightness and darkness of the car. If you'll put that on over that primer spot first, it'll be a lot easier to match. You won't have to waste as much paint doing that. So yeah, if you'll use primer sealer, you won't have to put as much paint. But yeah, that is normal. If you're just trying to cover up a light gray primer spot on a dark blue metallic, you're probably going to have to put that much. So hope that helps answer that question. So the next question we have is, okay, this comes from Gordon Bullfree. And if you're out there, hey, how you doing? Because he's been a long time friend of mine here on Facebook and YouTube. So shout out to you. But he asks, can the sealer be used over a portion or area that you have repaired only? Do you have to coat the whole piece? And the answer is no. In fact, if you're just doing a repair area and you're going to be blending in there, you want that paint out there not to have any sealer, because you want to blend the new paint into the old paint. So wherever your primer spot's at, and that's kind of like the last question, where that primer spot's at, you only want to cover that with the correct undercoat, the correct gray shade, and then you're going to extend your paint past that and then blend in to the existing part of the panel. And then you can just clear coat the whole panel. So you don't necessarily have to primer seal the whole panel, and you don't have to paint the whole panel. You can actually blend those in and then clear coat. And that's the way most blending's done. If you have a butt match where it's all one color here, new paint, all old color here, the old paint, sun, whatever, they're probably not going to match. But if you blend that paint in and clear coat past that blend, I mean, even if it is a shade off, you'll never know. You'll never be able to tell that it is a shade off. So to answer to that, no, you don't have to put primer sealer over the whole panel. You can spray a base coat straight over, prepped, sanded base coat, and you can clear over base coat. Now, if you're anywhere where you're painting, you want that sanded with 400 to 600 grit. If it's clear only, like out further in the panel, or maybe even the adjacent panel, if it's just going to be clear coated only, anywhere between 800 and 1,000 grit. So, all right, we'll head to the next panel. And if you're just joining us, be sure and leave us a chat and say, hey, so we know you're there. Make sure, let us know if everything's coming through, the audio and the video and all that. So anyway, thanks for joining us if you're just getting here. All right, I am looking for the next question. Okay, this is still kind of this is M. Posey, and it's kind of a same question, kind of a different way, different issue. But he says, hey, I bought 2 different sandable primer gray colors and was wondering what I do to even the color out, or does it even matter? And that's the same thing. And it's putting the primer is not the correct gray shade from all these questions. And if you're not going to use primer sealer that's closer to the darkness underneath, the correct gray shade, you can do that. It's going to take more paint though. You're going to have to put more coats to cover up that light gray spot, or if it's closer to the color you want. But I don't know, does it say what color the car is? But anyway, if it's light and the car is dark, you're probably going to have to put more paint on that spot for that to cover. So, or you can use a primer sealer and put a coat on that gives it the better gray shade underneath it, and then you won't have to use near as much paint. So kind of 2 ways to do it. I like to use primer sealer to get that correct gray shade. I've just always had better luck with that. And you don't have to use primer sealer. You can, if it paint's in good condition, you can sand it down with 400 to 600, and you can spray base coat straight over that. It's not a must. It does have some benefits. It does provide some adhesion. It gives it more durability, and it does give the whole car the same uniform shade underneath. So there's some benefits, but it's not necessary. You don't have to do that. And FJM asks, so is it not necessary to sand down to bare metal for the whole car? And this is kind of the question I wanted to focus on this week, because especially when I get students, I think you watch a lot of these restoration shows, and they sandblast everything and start from scratch like that, and that's not necessarily what you want to do with every job. So if you're in restoration, it's probably rusting. You're going to see some rust here and there, and usually you do want to go ahead and have it blasted, because you don't know what else. I mean, that car's been out there for a long time. There could be an inch of body filler, and I've seen that just caked on there, and you don't really know if there's been patch panels on there. So usually for your restoration, you are going to take that to metal just to find out what all's underneath it. And but for something that's not restoration, like a car that's not that old, there's few things that you need to kind of watch out for, how much you're going to have to take off. So if there's rust, obviously that is going to have to be taken to metal to get that rust off. Even if it's on top surface rust, that does need to go to metal. If there's any type of paint defects, like is it peeling, you may have to sand that partially. You may not have to sand it all the way to the metal, but you're going to have to sand down past what's peeling. So that might be a reason you have to sand quite a bit off. Another thing is how thick is that paint? Has it been painted 5 times? And then really the only way to tell that, I mean, there's ways to tell, but to know exactly how thick that paint is on there, you're going to have to get a mill gauge, a thickness mill gauge. And those are usually pretty expensive. I mean, $300-400. And I found one on Amazon. I put it down in the description, and it's cheap. And I'm going to tell you right now, I've not used it. I don't know how well it works. The one we have is quite a bit more expensive. I think I want to get one of those and just test it out and see how accurate it is to, one of the more expensive ones. But I think it's like $20. But you just put it on the paint, and it has to be a metal surface. You put it on the paint, and it reads how far it is to the metal. So that way if it's anything over 12 to 14 mils thick, it's usually recommended to strip. Now, you don't have to strip to bare metal. You can actually just strip part of that down to where it's down to 4-6 mils, where it's not going to be that thick when you're done. In fact, a lot of times it's best to leave the original E-coat and undercoatings on there, because that comes from the factory. It's already got all the corrosion protection, and it's a good idea to leave that on there. But if it's too thick, it's peeling, wrinkling, cracking. That's another one, those micro cracks in there. If it's doing that a lot of times require that you take it all the way to the metal, because they go pretty deep. Obviously rust, anything like that may result in you having to take it down to metal, or take it down a partial strip anyway. And that's where you just sand it down, start with 180 and kind of work your way up. But yeah, I think a lot of people see these shows, or students that, before they really learn it, we'll have a car that's never been painted before, and, they're wanting to take it all the way down to metal and, start all the way over. And really, that's just a lot of extra work. And probably is not going to be as good corrosion protection as it was from the factory. They have all that corrosion protection already on there, the E-coats, the undercoats, and all that. So depending on the car you're working on, if it's a car, the paint is in good condition, it's under 12 mils, and if it's never been painted, obviously it's going to be in good shape, unless it's cracking or something like that. But if it doesn't have any of those problems, you can just final sand it and it's ready to paint. Go over the car with between 400 and 600, and then once it's all, of course, clean it and go through the steps. But once you final sanded it and washed it up, get it in the booth mask, it'll be ready to paint. And then you can apply your sealer or your base coat, clear coat, or whatever. So, yeah. So if it's in good condition, no. And to better, as like a production shop, a regular body shop, they don't do restoration. A lot of older cars there. I mean, they don't even have a sandblaster. They don't do any blasting. But if you get to a shop that does do some restoration or purely restoration, yeah, that's going to be a lot more media blasting on those type of jobs. So it kind of depends on what you're working on. I mean, if you got a old car and it has rust, I probably would recommend go ahead and have it blasted or stripped. You don't have to sandblast it, but however you want to strip it, sand it, chemicals, the different ways to strip it. But that's kind of some guidelines to go by. If it's over 12 mils, if it's cracking, if it's chipping, any of those, rusting, all those are going to be a reason where you may have to strip. So anyway, that is a good question, and I get asked that a lot. So I kind of wanted to focus on that question for tonight. So, okay, let me flip back over here, see what's going on, then I'll come right back to these. Okay, got a few questions. All right, so I'll be right back. Okay. Answered that one. Okay, I'm going to kind of try to attempt to answer this question. This is kind of one of them hard ones, but it says, Christopher Lucio, I'm wondering how much paint does it take to paint the front bumper on my 2008 Dodge Charger using a brilliant black with a crystal clear coat? Okay, now that's a tough one to answer because everybody has different spray techniques. Someone that paints all the time, their efficiency is going to be real good. That's how much paint are you getting on the part and not, overspray. So that's going to make a difference. What spray guns you're going to make a difference. The paint line, is going to make a difference. It's kind of hard to tell you, exactly how much that is going to take. And like we do our painting at, we have a mixing scale and we can mix however much we want, 5 ounces, 10 ounces or whatever. But probably at most of the paint stores, if you don't have your own mixing system, you're probably going to have to buy it. I think maybe a pint is the smallest container you can get. So you probably have to buy a pint. And most base coats, or a lot of the base coats I'm familiar with anyway, that's mostly like Deltron and things like that. But it usually takes 1 to 1, 1 part paint to 1 part reducer. And that's going to make a quart of sprayable material. And I don't think you'd have any problems spraying a bumper with that. But the thing about bumpers, like just a fender takes less, bumpers, there's so many angles you got to get, so you are going to waste more trying to spray that because you got all your lips and angles. You know, they do take more paint than you think, but I think probably 16 or a pint would spray that. And I don't know, they may mix you up a half a pint. I'm not sure. You know, I haven't bought paint like that in a long time, but I know that a pint is the smallest container most paint companies have. So that's probably going to, you know, that's probably be what you have to get. So, but I don't think you'd have any problems doing that. As far as the clear, you use the paint, you don't put it on as thick. You're not building it up like you would. And plus black usually covers really good. But clear coat, you know, it may take a little bit more than that. You may go ahead and get you a quart just to be safe. You don't want to run out in the middle of it, but get you a quart and I think you'd be safe. But you will use more clear coat because you're putting it on thicker and you're building mills, and that's where you're going to use more product. So again, it's kind of hard to say, you know, depending on your technique, your spray gun efficiency, and the line of paint that you're using. So we pretty well caught up for all the questions I had there. I'll answer a few on here, and then we'll end this video. So Mont Smith says, how do you get rid of rust out body? So you want to know how to get rid of rust. So like if it's a rusted out, let's see, I think like if it's a cab corner, you're probably just going to have to buy, you can buy patch panels, cab corners. You probably need to cut out that rust and then put a new cab corner on, or, you know, fabricate you a piece, you know, cut all the rusted area out. Now, if you're talking about like rust that's up in there that you're not going to be cutting out, they make some products for that. In fact, Tuesday, you know, I'm going to be talking about one of these products that you can put on there. It's a metal rescue, and it dissolves the rust, turns it into a black type of a primer. But I'll be looking for that video Tuesday. But you can put one of those, and that's not the only one. POR 15 has some products that etch that rust and helps convert it. Eastwood has a lot of products for that. So hope that helps answer your question. But yeah, be looking for that video Tuesday. It's going to be at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. So is that well, that don't help answer your question. Just ask again down in the comments, and I'll try to better answer that. See how to get rust out of cab corner. Okay, that's kind of the same question we just had. If you actually got a hole in that cab corner, you know, you're either going to have to cut out a piece or buy a cab corner patch to you know, you can't really, there's already a hole there, you know, it's pretty bad, and you're going to have to patch that up. That's really the only way. I mean, you can, you know, I know people put fiberglass and this and that, but it doesn't last. If that rust is already there, it's just going to continue. So I would probably want to cut that out. But if you're just talking about surface rust, it hadn't gone all the way through. And a good way to tell that is get you something sharp like a pen or something like that and push on those bubbles, or if you've already got the paint off, push on those rust areas. And, you know, if it's just on the surface, you know, it's not going to go through. If you're just pushing through, then probably you're going to need to cut some of that out. Let's see. Do you, Brian M says, do you have a video that illustrates blending? And I do. And I will, this is a video, it kind of goes an extreme, like showing you like even like a, you know, if you wanted to fade colors, you know, you don't have to do that much in this video. I mean, I've got a couple of videos. I will try to later, it may be tomorrow before I get this done, but if you'll come back to this video, it's going to be, it'll be a replay, so you'll be able to watch it again. But I will try to put that video down in the description. And there's one of them, you know, where I'm blending, I think one of them I'm blending Waterboarding, and one of them I'm blending solvent. And I'm using I was using Deltron. I use a lot of PPG products, but we're using basically a base clear. Now, you don't have to use that, but it really helps and makes it a lot easier for you. So I'll try to put that video down in the description for you if you want to check back. Okay. Okay, could you recommend a base coat gun for a beginner? I've sprayed bumpers a few times. with the Harbor Freight gun. I'm not too familiar. I have seen some Harbor Freight guns that didn't work too good, but I'm not gonna dog them or anything. It's what you can afford. But I'm not that familiar with them. So probably one of the best cheap guns. Well, it's not cheap like that, but lower cost guns. A couple of them. One of them that really sprays good is the 3M AccuSpray gun. Some people, they either love it or hate it. Some people love it and some hate it. But me and most of the students usually really like that gun. You can change the tip out. It comes with different sizes, so you can put a 1.3 or 1.4, even for primer 1.6 or whatever. You just change that. It's a disposable tip, and I think they're about $5 a piece. So that would be a good one. And also Phoenix FX 3000, made by Sharp, I believe. And I'll try to put links to that too. I know I've got some videos using that AccuSpray. If I can find that, I'll link to that. But that's two pretty good guns. They're less than 200, probably around the $140, $50 range. But those would both work good. And I know if you're a beginner and you're just doing this on the side, you probably don't want to buy, a $600, $700 Iwata or $400 or $500 DeVelvis or anything like that. So probably one of those two is what I would use. And so John, you never answer questions thoroughly, but instead you beat around the bush or avoid the question altogether. John Rodriguez says, well, I answered the best I can. Some of these are hard to answer because I don't know what brands of paint you're using, what your skill level is. All that's going to vary on a lot of these. I try to do the best I can. So what a waste of time. You suck. Well, don't join us, John. Why do you keep coming? Mike said they don't watch more. Let's see, Brian by John. Let's see. Thank you. Appreciate your time and help, Donnie. Well, I do appreciate those of you that are coming here trying to learn. I am trying to answer some the best I can. And I'll be the first to admit, and if you've got answers that I'm not covering, by all means, leave a comment. I have never been one to admit that I know everything. I mean, I've been doing this a lot of time, and I am learning every day. There's things that come up that, that I haven't ever, had a problem with before, even still. So, yeah, I don't know it all. And if you've got an answer to one of these questions that can better answer this, leave a comment, let us know. I would appreciate that. But, yeah, if you're just going to say you suck, just leave. Let's see, waterborne versus solvent or regular paint. This kind of depends. I like waterborne because they have really, really good matches. They are a little bit more, picky, about the surface. You might have to sand with a little bit finer grit. You might have to, do a little bit more surface prep, but they match really, really good. They have a good, or the PPG line, the Enviro base. I don't know all of them, but they match really good. But if I'm a DIYer or, don't have perfect spraying environments, because you got to, that waterborne has to be sprayed down with air too, to help evaporate that. But it depends on, if you're working for a shop, I would prefer waterborne, that has all that stuff. If you're just doing it sometimes as a part-time DIYer, I would recommend solvent. You're going to have less problems with solvent, in my opinion. So depending on what you're doing, that would probably work out best for you, But the waterborne, and they both got pros and cons. The waterborne, if you prep it really good and do everything real well, it matches real good, and I've had good luck with it. But yeah, solvent's good too. It just and you can get by with a little bit more. You can cover up more things and than you can with waterborne. So anyway, I am going to wrap up this video. We got some things to do. Me and Jacob's going to go do some stuff. So I thank you for coming to this video. I'm running a little bit short, I guess. I said 30 minutes, but it's 24. But anyway, is there any less questions before I leave? I was going to have go at least 30 minutes. Hey, what's up? Eunice. Can I ask a question? Go for it. We got a few minutes left. I thought we was later than that. Hey, I'm trying to repair some rust after I stripped to bare metal. So after you stripped it, there's still rust on there? Are you talking about like rust through or just rust that's on top, surface rust? Let's see, after I stripped bare metal. Let's see, does it require rust converter before primer? You know, I would recommend it. I mean, if it's just right on top and it sands off, maybe not. But most of the time there's rust, there's pits in it. And you can't sand that out. You might try wire brushing or something. But if it's a surface that has been sanded and you see, you know, most of it was removed, but those pits are still in there. If you leave those in there and prime it, you know, it's even with the epoxy, you know, that rust is still there and probably going to start back. So I would use one of those rust converter type tip, like through, you know, not U-Pole, like that one I'm going to show on Tuesday, that Metal Rescue, that's one. And there's a lot of different brands. I can't think of them right off the top of my head. 15 PR15. Thank you. Yeah, PR. I was trying to get that out for a long time. PR15. I kept thinking U-Pole for some reason. That's another brand, and they may even have something you can put on there. And they got a lot of spray can stuff you can put on, but something to go in and kind of dissolve that rust and etch it for you. Yeah, PR15. That's a good product. I've used that and got that in some of my videos. Tuesday, I'm talking about a different product that I tried. Seemed to work well. I've not tried it on a car, but it seemed to work pretty good. I am funny. Hated toast. One last question. All right, one last. And that'd be about right. I'm trying to paint using 1K clear coat spray can. What's the best way to maximize its gloss? I normally don't use spray can. I mean, you can. I mean, it's they've got some products out there. I can't think of all. Duplicolor probably has a one of those type, you know, a single 1K clear coat that might work for this style of repair. Automotive touch-up paint has one, and there's another one, Spray Max or something like that, clear coat, and it's actually is a 2K clear coat. And what it is, it comes in a spray can, and when you get it, you pop the bottom, and that mixes the catalyst in with the clear coat. The only problem with that, once you do that, it's going to start catalyzing. So you only have so long to use that, you know, a day or something like that before it fully catalyzes inside the can. So you need to be able to, you know, use all that before you spray it. But yeah, I really don't have I haven't done a lot of 1K clear coat. Back in the day, I did a lot of 1K like primer surfacer, lacquer. You know, we used to use a lot of that. That's all we had. You know, we made it work. So, yeah, 2K Max Spray. And thank you guys for coming and help. You know, I kind of can't think of some of these right now sometimes, but yeah, that's what it's called. I bought the 2K Max Spray from Amazon and used it. That's exactly the one I was thinking of. And yeah, that is a 2K. I mean, that is catalyzed. Once you pop that bottom, that is a 2K product there. So turned out fantastic, but pricey though. Yeah, it is kind of pricey. How much is that? I got some one time for headlights, but it's been a long time and I can't really remember what the price was. But yeah, it is going to be pricier than like a 1K Duplicolor or, you know, some product like that. 55 Canadian. So yeah, that's a little bit more pricey. I don't know what that is, what that converts to, but $40. Yeah, that's quite a bit for one can. But you know, it is a better product. But you know, it's just how much is it an old car you just want to make look better for the time being, or you know, want it to last a long time. You know, that all goes into effect, and how much, of course, your budget. You know, you kind of do what you can afford. So anyway, I do appreciate all you for showing up. Thanks for watching. And if you have any other questions, of course, you can always go down later at this replay or any of my other videos and ask questions, and I will try my best to answer them. Like I said, I don't know everything, but I'll try to you know, I've been doing a long time and I know a lot, but you know, I'll try my best to help answer them. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video.